the island of Newfoundland on the far east of Canada, but I live in a small island called Prince Edward Island in the capital, Charlottetown. So I started playing drums when I was a teenager, and I played drums in different bands, like rock and roll bands growing up. And then I studied classical percussion at university. And after that, I started to study classical percussion in Sweden, but as well with composition. And then eventually I kept going with composition. I normally compose, often I start in the beginning with writing sketches in color. So I use colored pencils and crayons, and I make sketches with shapes of colors and things, with mostly ideas about form. And I don't think about any pitches or details. And then often after that I will make a form sometimes, and then I'll start to get more concrete ideas in musical terms. I only work in acoustic music. I've never done much electronic music, acousmatic music. My main musical output early in my career was actually for orchestra, and then I've been doing more chamber music the last few years. I've written for saxophone before in the context of an ensemble, and I once wrote a piece for solo tenor saxophone and small orchestra where the saxophonist improvises a lot. I have a great interest in saxophone more from the jazz side of music, like Ornette Coleman, for example. I'm a big fan of free jazz, Ornette Coleman. But this is the first time I've written for a saxophone quartet. But early, when I was studying as a percussionist, I actually played a piece for alto saxophone and percussion by Paul Theberge called A Void Not Filled with Words, which had a lot of advanced techniques for saxophone, multiphonics, and very unusual, for me as a 19-year-old, very unusual things on the saxophone. So that it's always been in the back of my mind that I want to do something more for saxophones, because there's a lot of possibilities in the saxophone, especially in the quartet with the full range. When I was asked to be involved in the project, the first thing I thought about was what are the advantages and what are the limitations of a saxophone quartet? Because they all have to breathe when they play. The range is not limited, but it has a very specific range. So I think a lot in the beginning I thought about the technical aspects of the instruments. I knew, because Quasar plays so much contemporary music, that there was never going to be any problem with any effects or strange ideas, or they would never question those things. They would just play them. One of the main things I wanted to do with the workshop, the number one thing, was to test the sort of extremes of the ensemble. How fast they can play something, how loud they can play, how easy it is to play multiphonics, how hard or easy it is to play very, very quietly together. So my pieces were based on just testing the extremes of the ensemble. And I didn't worry so much about the exact pitches of some of the pieces. Like I have a piece called Scherzo where it goes very quickly and it's very percussive, and I don't really care if it's an E or D. I can't even tell, like, it's going by so quickly. I wanted to test the limitations. And I think having the meeting with the ensemble in rehearsals, because it's a whole week, you get to know the group, you get to test small things, that I started to change little things, which I wouldn't if they just commissioned the work and I sent them the work. So having this collaboration, this dialogue helps. It makes it easy for me to change ideas, small ideas, and to think about what I could do afterwards. So once 2 weeks go by and I get the recording, I listen again after maybe 2-3 weeks, then I think I'll either make up my mind if I want to keep some pieces or throw some pieces away. I don't think the environment I live in now affects my music at all. But the environment I grew up in, I'm from Newfoundland, and it's got mountains and big lakes and big forests, and there's not very many people. So Newfoundland, I think, is the 25th biggest island in the world, and the population is 500,000. Right? It's very big. So that I always carry with me, the landscape of where I come from.